My husband left for work after telling me to go grocery shopping using the car. Suddenly, my mute child spoke. "Don't use the car, Mom. Dad wants you dead." I panicked and immediately checked my husband's work bag that he had accidentally left at home. Inside, I found a life insurance policy taken out in my name. 5 minutes later. Before we get into the story, don't forget to say hi in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. And make sure to hit the subscribe button on Stories with Meaning channel so you won't miss our next powerful story. The scent of melted butter and oil sautéed with garlic filled the morning air of our minimalist kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the narrow ventilation slits, casting sharp golden lines across the broad back of the man standing at the stove. That man had been the leader of my life for the past 5 years, Adrian. I stood frozen in the bedroom doorway, quietly admiring a scene that millions of women would envy. A handsome, successful husband, a non-smoker, a man who willingly helped with household chores. At the dining table sat Leo, our only child, 6 years old, staring silently at his empty plate. Silence, always silence when it came to Leo. "Good morning, Queen of the House," Adrian greeted without turning around, as if he had eyes on the back of his head. He turned off the stove and faced me, carrying a steaming serving plate. His smile bloomed effortlessly, the same smile that once made me fall to my knees and accept his proposal, even when my parents hesitated because of our different economic backgrounds. "Why are you cooking again?" I asked, stepping closer and taking the plate from his hands. "I told you I'd handle it. You're going to be late for the office." "It's fine, sweetheart," he replied gently. "I have an important meeting today, so I might be home late. I just want to make sure you both eat well before I leave." His hand reached up, brushing stray strands of hair behind my ear. His touch was warm, yet something felt off. Suddenly, Leo dropped his spoon hard onto the floor. Clang. The sharp metallic sound against the tile made me flinch. Adrian turned quickly. His gaze hardened for a split second before softening into the familiar look of a loving father. "Careful, buddy," Adrian said calmly as he bent down to pick up the spoon. But Leo turned his face away, shifting his chair farther from him, as if his father were a monster. My heart sank. Since being diagnosed with selective mutism 3 years ago, Leo had withdrawn from the world. The doctor said it was psychological, but I never knew the trigger. He had never spoken a single word, only empty stares, sometimes filled with buried anger. "Sorry, Adrian," I said quickly while rubbing Leo's back. "Maybe he's just in a bad mood today." Adrian sighed and smiled in understanding. "It's okay." "Oh, Nora, do you have plans to go out today?" I scooped rice onto Leo's plate. "Not really, just cleaning the house." "You shouldn't stay in all day," Adrian cut in enthusiastically, sitting across from me. "You need some fresh air. Go visit your mother or do the monthly grocery shopping at that big supermarket downtown Seattle. Leo's milk is almost gone, right?" "I could just order online. It's easier." "No," Adrian snapped, too quickly. His voice was slightly raised. I frowned. Realizing it, he softened his tone immediately, sweeter, more persuasive. "I mean, your red sedan hasn't been driven long distance in a while. I warmed it up yesterday. The engine needs a proper run so the battery doesn't drain. Just take it out for a drive. Consider it a little getaway." I hesitated. Adrian rarely insisted I drive myself. Usually, he was overly protective and preferred I use ride-hailing services if he couldn't take me. "Come on, Nora, for the car's health too, and your mom will be happy to see you bring her grandson." Finally, I nodded. "All right, I'll go to Mom's place this afternoon." A victorious smile crossed his lips. He looked relieved, like a massive burden had just been lifted off his shoulders. He finished his breakfast quickly, glancing at his expensive wristwatch. "I'm heading out now." 15 minutes later, he grabbed his work bag and approached me. As part of our usual morning ritual, he kissed my forehead, long and lingering. His luxury cologne filled my senses, a masculine scent I had always associated with safety. "Drive carefully, sweetheart. Don't forget your seatbelt. If anything happens, text me right away." "I will. You be careful too." Adrian turned to Leo, gently patting his head. "Take care of Mom, champ." Leo didn't move. He didn't even look at his father. His small hands clenched the spoon so tightly his knuckles turned white. His eyes were locked on the front door, as if he's trying to push Adrian out with sheer willpower. Adrian chuckled awkwardly and walked towards the entrance. I followed him to the porch. I watched him as he got into his black SUV, waved, and slowly drove away from our neatly kept yard. The automatic gate closed behind him. Silence filled the house again. I exhaled deeply and turned to close the front door. That was when a strange sensation crawled up the back of my neck, a bad feeling I couldn't explain, as if that kiss on my forehead had been a farewell. I shook the thought away. Adrian was a good husband. He wouldn't hurt me. Just as I was about to shut the door, a sudden pull pulled at the hem of my dress. I looked down. Leo. He stood there, pale as a sheet, eyes wide with pure, terrifying fear. His small body trembled violently. "What is it, sweetheart? Do you want more breakfast?" I asked softly, couching down to his level. Leo shook his head frantically. He grabbed my arm with shocking strength for a child of his age. His mouth opened, his lips quivering as he struggled to release a voice that had been locked away for 3 years. "Mom!" My blood surged. My eyes burned. It was the first time I'd heard his voice again. "Oh God, Leo, you're talking, sweetheart." But there was no smile on his face. He pulled me closer and whispered, his voice hoarse yet perfectly clear, as if he had never been mute at all. "Mom, don't use the car." He pointed towards the garage, tears pooling in his eyes. "Dad lied to you. Last night he cut the brake cable with pliers. I saw everything." My chest felt like it had been struck by lightning. "Mom, Dad wants you dead?" I stared at my son, my flesh and blood, his usually expressionless face was soaked with tears. His small grip on my dress tightened, as if I was the only thing keeping him afloat in a storm. But what shattered me wasn't just that he had spoken after 3 years of silence. It was what he said. "Dad wants you dead?" My voice cracked as I cupped his trembling face with cold hands. "Leo, do you understand what you're saying? Your father loves us. He cooked your favorite fried rice this morning."
"No, Dad isn't kind, Mom." Leo cut me off sharply, his voice piercing, filled with raw, undeniable terror. He shook his head frantically. "Dad thought Leo was asleep. Leo woke up to pee late at night. I saw Dad in the garage. He was holding big pliers with red handles. He crawled under Mom's car. Then there was a loud click, really loud. Dad smiled, Mom. Dad smiled really scary when he came out from under the car." The explanation was far too detailed to be a child's lie, far too horrifying to be a nightmare. Red-handled pliers. I knew that tool. They belonged to Adrian, neatly stored in the toolbox in the back storage room. My heart pounded violently, aching as if it were about to explode. Logic screamed in denial. Adrian, my gentle husband, the man who kissed my forehead every morning, who never forgot to remind us about prayer and family time, couldn't possibly be a killer. But a mother's instinct does not lie. The honesty in Leo's eyes was the purest form of truth. Let's check, I whispered, more to convince myself than him. I stood up. My legs felt like jelly. With unsteady steps, I guided Leo toward the side door that connected the living room to the garage. The garage door was tightly shut, illuminated only by a long flickering fluorescent light at the far end of the room. My red Honda Jazz, 5 years old, sat neatly inside. A gift from Adrian for our second wedding anniversary. The car he said that morning needed to be taken for a run. The car that was supposed to take Leo and me to my mother's house in Seattle today. The air in the garage felt thick and smelled of oil. A familiar scent, but today it reeked like death. "Where, sweetheart?" I asked softly. "Where did Dad cut it?" Leo pointed toward the rear right tire. "There, Mom, near the back wheel." I swallowed hard. I wasn't a mechanic. I knew nothing about engines, but I knew I had to see it. I grabbed a flashlight from the shoe rack near the door and turned it on. A sharp white beam sliced across the garage floor. There was a small puddle of clear, slightly yellowish liquid beneath the inner side of the rear tire. It was still wet. With violently trembling hands, I bent down and forced myself to lie flat on the cold, tiled floor. I slid my head under the car, directing the flashlight toward the wheel assembly. The sharp, acrid smell of brake fluid hit my nose instantly. And there it was, proof of an unforgivable sin. A black brake hose hung limp beneath the car. The end wasn't jagged like it had snapped naturally or been chewed by an animal. No, the cut was clean, straight, precise, a cut that could only be made by a sharp, man-made tool. Brake fluid dripped slowly from the open end. Drip, 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 like a countdown to the life I almost lost. My breath caught, my vision blurred, a scream clawed its way up my throat, but I clamped my hand over my mouth, choking back a hysterical sob. If I hadn't listened to Leo, if I had started the engine and driven onto the road, at the first downhill slope toward my mother's house, the brakes would have failed. Images of twisted metal and shattered glass flooded my mind. I crawled out from under the car, gasping. Cold sweat soaked my entire body. The moment I sat down on the garage floor, Leo threw his arms around my neck. His small body trembled as violently as mine. "Mom believes Leo now," he whispered. I hugged him tightly, so tightly, as if I could pull him back into my womb and shield him from this cruel world. Tears streamed uncontrollably down my face. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. You were right. You saved our lives." Suddenly, the cheerful chime of a phone notification shattered the silence of the garage. That sound, once harmless, now rang like a death bell. With shaking hands, I pulled my phone from the pocket of my dress. A message from Adrian, heart. My fingers felt stiff as I opened it. "Sweetheart, have you left for your mom's place yet? Don't forget to drive a little fast so the engine buildup clears out. Let me know when you arrive. Love you." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. Love you? Those words felt like the cruelest joke in the world. He wasn't checking because he cared. He was checking to see whether his plan had worked, whether I was already dead. I stared at the screen, then at Leo, then back at the message. What should I do? If I didn't reply, he would grow suspicious. If I did reply, what could I possibly say to a man who had just tried to kill me? In the midst of my panic, my eyes caught something else. In the upper corner of the garage, a small red indicator light blinked steadily on a CCTV camera. Oh God! This camera was directly connected to Adrian's phone. Was he watching us right now? My blood ran cold as I realized the camera lens was pointed straight toward us. The tiny red light blinked non-stop, like a warning signal sent directly to Adrian. I had to think fast. If Adrian was watching a live feed from his office, he would have seen Leo and me on the garage floor. But our bodies were partially blocked by the side of the car. He might have seen us enter, but he couldn't possibly see what was under the car unless he had X-ray vision. "Leo," I whispered urgently, pulling him up to stand. I forced every ounce of panic out of my voice. "We have to go inside. Don't look up at the camera. Pretend your leg hurts, like you tripped. Understand?" Leo immediately nodded. Without hesitation, he began limping, clutching his knee, acting perfectly as if he had just fallen. I supported him out of the suffocating garage, closed the connecting door, and locked it tightly. The air-conditioned living room, the moment we reached it, my legs gave out. I collapsed on the sofa, clutching Leo. We both trembled like dry leaves in a storm. The house I once believed was the safest place on earth now felt like a prison with an invisible warden watching every move. My phone vibrated again. Adrian's message was still unanswered. With stiff fingers, I typed a reply, deleted it, typed again, over and over, afraid every word would sound suspicious. "Adrian, sorry, I don't think I'll be going to my mom's place after all. I suddenly have bad stomach cramps. Maybe my period is coming. Leo was fussy in the garage, too. He tripped and hurt his leg." I sent it. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It felt like an eternity. Ding! A reply. "That's a shame. I really wanted you to get out of the house. All right then. Rest well. Take some medicine. I'll come home early." I tossed the phone onto the table like it was poisonous. Come home early. Those words used to flutter my heart. Today, they sounded like a threat. He wasn't coming home early out of love. He was coming home because his plan had failed. At 5 p.m., the low growl of a black SUV engine echoed into the driveway. My heart began racing again. I had already told Leo to stay inside his room and locked the door. "No matter what happens," I whispered earlier, "don't come out unless Mom calls you." The front door opened. Heavy footsteps approached. Adrian walked in, sleeves of his office shirt rolled up to his elbows. His face looked tired, but his eyes scanned the room sharply before landing on me, curled up on the sofa, pretending to sleep beneath a blanket in front of the television.
"Sweetheart," he called softly. I slowly opened my eyes, forcing the weakest expression I could manage. "Adrian, you're home already?" He stepped closer and sat on the edge of the sofa. He placed the back of his hand on my forehead. Skin against skin. That touch used to calm me. Now it made my stomach churn. I had to restrain myself with everything I had not to slap his hand away or spit in his face. "You don't have a fever," he murmured. His tone was flat, slightly disappointed. "Just stomach cramps," I lied, so bad I couldn't even stand earlier. Adrian let out a long sigh and stood up. He walked to the window, pulling the curtain aside just enough to glance toward the garage. "What a shame. The weather's perfect today. That car will get damaged if it just sits there. You're sometimes too dramatic over small pains." There it was. The real him. Usually, when I was sick, he would massage my legs or make me warm tea, but today he blamed me for not driving the death trap he had prepared. "Sorry," I whispered. "Nora," he said calmly. He turned back toward me, his smile returning, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm not mad. I'm just worried about the car." Then he added casually, "Oh, by the way, I checked the CCTV notifications earlier." My heart stopped. He walked toward me slowly, his gaze locking onto mine, searching for cracks. "I saw you and Leo in the garage for quite a while this morning, almost 10 minutes. What were you doing there if you were just going to leave and then cancel?" A trap. He was testing me. He suspected something. I swallowed hard, my throat bitter. I had to stay calm. If I hesitated, he'd know. "Leo," I answered, forcing my voice to stay steady. "He was playing near the tires and tripped over the jack in the corner. He cried for a long time. You know how his silent tantrums are. I had to calm him before we could come inside." Adrian stared at me for several agonizing seconds. The room felt unbearably quiet. I could even hear the soft hum of the air conditioner. Slowly, the corner of his lips lifted. That smile again, the manipulative smile that had fooled me for years. "Oh, I see. That clumsy kid," he said lightly, as if all suspicion had vanished. "All right then, I'll take a shower. It's hot." He turned and walked casually toward the bathroom. I released a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, but the relief lasted only a second. Before fully entering the bedroom, Adrian stopped without turning around. His next words were cold enough to make my skin crawl. "Tomorrow morning, take the car to my usual repair shop, Nora. I felt something off with the brakes when I warmed it up yesterday. Let the mechanics check it. Early in the morning." I stared at his back in disbelief. He was insane. He knew the brakes were gone because he had cut them himself, and now he was telling me to drive the car to the repair shop. That meant he was sending me to my death again, but this time it would look like an accident on the way to get the brakes fixed. "Yes, Adrian," I replied weakly. He disappeared into the bathroom, humming softly. The sound of running water followed. An opportunity. I jumped up and grabbed Adrian's work bag from the dining chair. My hands shook violently as I opened the zipper of the expensive leather bag. I had to find something, anything. I felt around inside. A wallet, car keys, and then a thick brown envelope hidden in a secret inner compartment. I pulled it out. No label. Heavy. Breathing fast, I opened it. My eyes widened in horror. Inside wasn't just an insurance policy. There was an ultrasound photo, a pregnancy ultrasound, and in the top left corner, the patient's name was printed clearly. A name I knew all too well. My world collapsed for the second day that day. The tiled floor beneath my feet felt like it was swaying. My vision spun, forcing me to grip the edge of the dining table to keep from falling. The black and white ultrasound photo burned in my hand, sending pain straight from my fingertips to my heart. The name printed on it was unmistakable. Mrs. Elena Rossi. Elena, my own cousin, an orphan we had treated like a little sister. A girl whose college tuition was paid for by my parents. A girl who lived in the guest house behind my mother's home in Seattle, someone I often entrusted with errands when I was busy. Sweet, polite Elena. The same Elena who always addressed my husband as Adrian, with respectful admiration. Elena was pregnant, and the ultrasound was hidden inside my husband's secret bag. My sobs burst out silently. This pain was worse than learning Adrian wanted me dead. The betrayal was layered, piercing me from every direction. My husband had been sleeping with my cousin. He got her pregnant, and now he was planning to kill me for insurance money so they could live happily, standing on my grave. Beneath the ultrasound photo lay another document, a life insurance policy. Maximum coverage.
The insured amount made my eyes widen. $325,000. The policy had gone active just 1 month ago. Sole beneficiary? Adrian. Everything made sense now. All the bloody puzzle pieces snapped together into a horrifying picture. Adrian needed a large sum of money to support his new family with Elena. His salary as a mid-level manager wouldn't sustain the luxury life he always dreamed of, especially with a baby on the way. I was the obstacle, and I was the gold mine. Suddenly, click. The bathroom door opened. My heart jumped into my throat. Driven by pure adrenaline, I shoved Adrian's work bag from the dining chair. My hands shook violently as I opened the zipper of the expensive leather bag. I had to find something, anything. I felt around inside. A wallet, car keys, and then a thick brown envelope hidden in a secret inner compartment. I pulled it out. No label, heavy. Breathing fast, I opened it. My eyes widened in horror. Inside wasn't just an insurance policy, there was an ultrasound photo, a pregnancy ultrasound, and in the top left corner, the patient's name was printed clearly, a name I knew all too well. My world collapsed for the second day that day. The tiled floor beneath my feet felt like it was swaying. My vision spun, forcing me to grip the edge of the dining table to keep from falling. The black and white ultrasound photo burned in my hand, sending pain straight from my fingertips to my heart. The name printed on it was unmistakable: Mrs. Elena Rossi. Elena, my own cousin, an orphan we had treated like a little sister. A girl whose college tuition was paid for by my parents. A girl who lived in the guest house behind my mother's home in Seattle, someone I often entrusted with errands when I was busy. Sweet, polite Elena. The same Elena who always addressed my husband as Adrian, with respectful admiration. Elena was pregnant, and the ultrasound was hidden inside my husband's secret bag. My sobs burst out silently. This pain was worse than learning Adrian wanted me dead. The betrayal was layered, piercing me from every direction. My husband had been sleeping with my cousin. He got her pregnant, and now he was planning to kill me for insurance money so they could live happily, standing on my grave. Beneath the ultrasound photo lay another document, a life insurance policy. Maximum coverage. The insured amount made my eyes widen. $325,000. The policy had gone active just 1 month ago. Sole beneficiary? Adrian. Everything made sense now. All the bloody puzzle pieces snapped together into a horrifying picture. Adrian needed a large sum of money to support his new family with Elena. His salary as a mid-level manager wouldn't sustain the luxury life he always dreamed of, especially with a baby on the way. I was the obstacle, and I was the gold mine. Suddenly, click. The bathroom door opened. My heart jumped into my throat. Driven by pure adrenaline, I shoved Adrian's work bag from the dining chair. My hands shook violently as I opened the zipper of the expensive leather bag. I had to find something, anything. I felt around inside. A wallet, car keys, and then a thick brown envelope hidden in a secret inner compartment. I pulled it out. No label, heavy. Breathing fast, I opened it. My eyes widened in horror. Inside wasn't just an insurance policy. I had let the wolf sleep beside me, and even allowed him to devour my own sister. "Mom?" a small voice called out to me. I turned. Leo stood at the doorway of his room, clutching his worn-out teddy bear. His eyes were filled with worry. He must have heard my heart screaming. I walked to him, knelt, and pulled him into a tight embrace. "Leo,"
I whispered into his ear. This time, my voice no longer trembled. Something new had grown inside me, born from unbearable pain. A cold, steel-hard resolve. From now on, we're going to put on a show, okay? I said softly. We have to be smarter than Dad. I'm not going to take that car, right, Mom? Leo asked anxiously. No, sweetheart, Mom is not going to die. I held his gaze firmly and wiped the remaining tears from my face with the back of my hand. Instead, we're the ones who are going to shock him. That night, while Adrian slept soundly beside me, his breathing steady, his soft snores filling the room, perhaps dreaming of insurance money and his new life, I didn't sleep for a second. I lay next to him, staring at the dark ceiling, assembling my plan. My heartbreak had transformed. It was no longer sorrow that weakened me. It had become fuel, ready to burn everything to the ground. Tomorrow morning, this drama would enter a new act. I would no longer be the victim. I would be the director of their destruction. That morning, our house, which usually felt cool and peaceful, felt like a gas chamber. The air seemed to thin every time Adrian stood within a meter of me. I sat stiffly at the dining table, watching my husband prepare coffee in the pantry. The clink of the spoon against the glass sounded like a funeral bell. Drink first, sweetheart, Adrian said, placing the steaming cup in front of me. Your favorite milk coffee. Wake yourself up before driving the car to the repair shop. The steam rose, carrying the scent of caffeine that usually comforted me. Today, it made my stomach churn. Is there cyanide in it? Sleeping pills? Rat poison? My mind, poisoned by paranoia, screamed, "Don't drink it." Why are you just staring at it? Drink! He stood beside the table with his arms crossed, watching me intently. There was impatience in his eyes. It's still hot, I said softly. Under the table, my hands clenched my dress so tightly my palms were soaked in cold sweat. Just a little. I made it special for you. He was forcing it. He wanted to make sure something happened to me before I got into the death trap. I'll drink it in a moment, I said quickly, grabbing the cup and standing up. I need to use the bathroom first. I'll take this with me and change. Without waiting for his approval, I rushed into the ensuite bathroom of the master bedroom. The moment I locked the door, I poured the entire cup down the sink and flushed it with running water until no trace remained. My heart hammered like it was about to burst. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. Dark circles under my eyes, pale skin, dry lips. I looked like a living corpse. This was the face of a woman betrayed by the two people she loved most. When I came out 10 minutes later, fully dressed but spiritually shattered, Adrian was already standing on the porch, checking his watch repeatedly. Remember, Nora, go straight to Evergreen Auto Service on the bypass road. Don't stop anywhere. Faulty brakes are dangerous in city traffic. His words sounded caring, but he was outlining my death route. The bypass was a high-speed road. If the brakes failed there, my chances of survival were 0. Yes, Adrian. All right, I'm heading out. Be careful. He got into his car without kissing me this time. Maybe he felt disgusted kissing a soon-to-be corpse. Or maybe he was already eager to celebrate the good news tonight with Elena Rossi. The moment Adrian's car disappeared around the corner, my defenses collapsed completely. I slid down behind the front door, crying silently. The anger from last night dissolved into a grief so sharp it cut into my bones. I felt utterly alone. My parents were far away. My friends had drifted away because I'd been too busy managing a marriage that turned out to be a lie. Mom? Leo came out of his room, staring at me with wide, worried eyes. I pulled him into my arms, my only reason to keep breathing. But this suffocating isolation was killing me slowly. I needed to confirm one last thing.
a wound I had to rip open completely so I wouldn't hesitate when the time came to destroy them. With trembling hands, I picked up my phone and searched for a name that used to be on my speed dial, Elena Rossi. I pressed call. The ringing tone echoed. Once, twice. "Hello, assalamu alaikum, sis Nora." Her cheerful voice greeted me, the same one that used to cling to me affectionately. "Wa alaikum salam, Elena," I replied. My voice was hoarse, heavy with restrained tears. "Hey, sis, why do you sound like you've been crying? Did Adrian mess up again?" she asked, with concern perfectly woven into her tone. Her acting was flawless. No wonder Adrian fell for her. Two devils wearing angel masks. "I'm just not feeling well," I lied. "Where are you, Elena? Could you come over today? I miss you." There was a brief silence. "Oh, I'm really sorry, sis. I have university assignments out of town, super busy. Why, did you need me to take care of something?" A lie. Her campus was on semester break. "No, I just wanted to talk." Then I added casually, "Oh, by the way, Adrian asked me to take the car to service today. He said the brakes make a noise. Do you think I should go? I have a bad feeling." Silence again. This time longer. My heart stopped as I waited. This was the final test. If she had even a trace of conscience, she would stop me. She would save her sister. "Yes, you should go," Elena said brightly. "If Adrian told you to, that means it's dangerous to ignore it. Don't keep arguing with your husband, sis. Just go now while the roads are still empty." Her voice became more insistent. "What if the brakes fail while you're driving later? That would be dangerous." Tears fell again, but this time they were ice cold. She knew. Not only did she know I was going to be killed, she was pushing me toward the edge. "You're right," I said softly. "I'll go now. Thanks for the advice." I ended the call. Enough. No more doubts, no more pity. They both wanted me dead, consciously, deliberately. I threw my phone on the sofa and stared blankly at the wall. Depression crept in. What was the point of fighting? My enemies were my brilliant husband and my cunning sister. But my thoughts were shattered when my phone vibrated violently. Not a call, a flood of chat notifications. I glanced at the screen. Messages from Adrian Hartheart. "Sweetheart, why does the car's GPS still show it's in the garage? You haven't left yet? The shop might close." "Nora?" 1 minute later, the final message arrived, a message that froze my blood. "If you're too lazy, I'll send someone from the shop to pick up the car now. He's already on the way. Open the door." My eyes widened. Adrian was running out of patience. He had sent another executioner to this house. My heart slammed violently against my ribs, in sync with the heavy pounding on the front door. Bang, bang, bang. "Ma'am, open up. I'm from the repair shop, sent by Mr. Adrian." The man's voice outside was rough, impatient. That wasn't the voice of a polite mechanic. That was the voice of a thug. Adrian hadn't sent a technician. He had sent a hitman.
He had sent an executioner to make sure his murder plan went through, or at least to forcibly take the vehicle so any evidence of sabotage could be erased. I clamped my hand over Leo's mouth and pulled him tightly into my arms. We hid behind the living room couch, a blind spot invisible from the front window. I had already drawn the curtains shut, but the shadow of the man's bulky frame still flickered through the ventilation slits. My phone, lying on the table, lit up again. Message from Adrian. "Husband. Heart, heart, heart. Honey, open the door. The guy's been waiting. Don't embarrass me in front of my client." I closed my eyes, holding my breath. Don't embarrass you. You weren't embarrassed trying to murder your own wife. After 5 minutes that felt like hell itself, the pounding stopped. I heard the man speaking loudly on the phone, his voice muffled by the walls. "No one's here, boss. House looks empty. Yeah, the car's still in the garage. Break-in? Not now, too many neighbors around. All right, I'll keep watch from the end of the block."
Footsteps retreated. A motorcycle engine roared to life and disappeared. I exhaled shakily. My body went limp. He was gone, but he was watching. This house was no longer a fortress. It was a cage, a place where I waited to be slaughtered. "The bad man left," Leo whispered. I nodded weakly, brushing back his sweat-damp hair. "Yes, sweetheart, but we have to move fast. Mommy needs to find something." My mind raced. Adrian was desperate today, far more reckless than usual. Why now? Yes, the affair and Elena Rossi's pregnancy were motives, but this urgency felt wrong. Why today? Why send a thug instead of a mechanic? My instincts pulled me toward one place: Adrian's home office. The forbidden room. He always carried the key. But he forgot something. I still had the spare key, hidden inside my sewing box, a keepsake from my late mother-in-law, who had once loved me like her own daughter. "Leo, watch the window. If that man comes back, signal me." He nodded firmly and ran to the curtain in the front bedroom. I hurried to the office, hands trembling as I unlocked the door. A faint smell of cigarettes lingered in the air. Adrian had sworn he never smoked. Another lie. I went straight to the small safe in the corner. I knew the code. Our wedding date. How ironic. Beep, beep, beep. The door opened. Empty. The gold bars gone. The house deed gone. The SUV ownership papers gone. Only crumpled documents remained at the bottom. I picked them up, my hands shaking. My eyes widened as I read the letterheads. They weren't love letters. They weren't work documents. They were final demand notices from payday loan companies and private lenders. $32,000 due today. $22,000 overdue, 3 months late. Total debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another page showed wire transfer receipts, deposits into an online gambling site called Zeus Slots. My husband, the man I believed was a successful, devout professional, was a bankrupt gambling addict. My legs gave out. I collapsed onto the floor. So that was the real reason. Not love, not just Elena. Money. He needed my $320,000 life insurance policy to plug the black hole of his debt. Elena might be pregnant, but she was broke too. They were parasites, feeding off a host. And that host was me. A dusty old tablet on the desk suddenly lit up. It was still synced to Adrian's messaging account. Automatic cloud sync. A new message came in from a contact named My Future. I knew exactly who it was. Elena. I leaned closer, reading the conversation that sent my blood boiling. My Future. Is that idiot Nora gone yet? Adrian. Not yet. She won't leave the house. Says she's sick. The guy I sent couldn't get in. My Future. Are you insane? Those loan sharks are threatening me too. They said they'll come to my college if we don't pay tomorrow. You have to finish her today. My Future. I don't care how. Brake failure, poison, smother her with a pillow like we planned. Just make sure she's dead today so we can claim the insurance tomorrow. I don't want our baby born poor because his father is a loser. Adrian. Calm down, baby. I'll be home by noon. If she's still there, I'll use Plan B. My Future. Good. Make it clean. No traces. My breath caught. Plan B. Adrian would be home at 12 p.m. He wouldn't wait for an accident anymore. He was coming to kill me himself in this house. I glanced at the wall clock. 10:30 a.m. I had 1 hour and 30 minutes left before the executioner returned. I stood up. The tears were gone. The fear was gone. All that remained was something primal. They thought I was a lamb waiting for slaughter. Wrong. They had just awakened a sleeping tiger. I grabbed the tablet as evidence and rushed out of the office. "Leo," I called sharply. My son turned from the window. "We're not running," I said coldly. His eyes widened. "We're going to welcome your father home, but this house isn't his anymore. This is a trap." I wiped the last traces of tears from my face. It burned, but that pain woke me from a 5-year sleep. Nora the obedient, Nora the forgiving, Nora who worshipped her husband like a god, she was dead. What remained was a mother, and a mother will burn the world to protect her child. I checked the clock again, 10:45 a.m., 1 hour and 15 minutes left. Running was impossible. The lookout was still at the end of the street. If we fled now, we'd be exposed in the open. This house was my battlefield. I knew every corner, every creaking hinge, every slick tile. Adrian may have paid the mortgage, but I gave this house its soul. "Leo," I said, my voice sounded unfamiliar even to me. He looked up, calm, ready. "Yes, Mom. I need your help. Your father will try to hurt me, but I need your help to win." Leo nodded without hesitation. "I'm brave. I hate Dad." "Good. Now listen carefully." I moved fast. First, I sealed the tablet, the chat logs, the gambling records in plastic and hid it deep inside the rice container in the kitchen, the one place Adrian would never touch. That was my insurance policy. If I died, the police would find it. Second, I had to manipulate the situation. Adrian was watching through CCTV. He needed to see exactly what he expected to see.
I took a bottle of liquid sleeping medication that belonged to Adrian, ironically, the same drug he often used during his so-called insomnia episodes. I poured every drop down the sink, then refilled the empty bottle with plain mineral water. I placed the bottle on the nightstand beside the bed, deliberately positioning it so it was clearly visible to the bedroom CCTV camera. Then I sent Adrian the bait. "Adrian, my head hurts so badly it feels like it's going to split. I'm going to take a bit of your sleeping medicine so I can rest. Please don't disturb me until later this afternoon." 30 seconds later, a notification appeared. From Adrian Heart. "Okay, sweetheart, sleep well. Rest peacefully." Peacefully. In his vocabulary, that meant peacefully in the afterlife. I knew he was thrilled. He thought his job would be easy, strangling a wife who was drugged and helpless. He had no idea I was fully conscious, alert, and ready to strike. Step 3. Weapon preparation. I wasn't a fighter. I was no match for Adrian's strength. He worked out regularly at a fitness center. I needed a close-range weapon that could incapacitate. I went to the kitchen and grabbed a heavy stone mortar. I crushed a large handful of dried red chili peppers and black peppercorns into a coarse, vicious powder. I mixed it with vinegar and poured the solution into an empty glass cleaner bottle I had washed thoroughly. "This is our shield," I murmured, shaking the bottle. The thick red liquid churned violently, just as fiery as my rage. Back in the bedroom, I arranged pillows under the blanket, shaping them into a human-sized mound curled as if sleeping. "Leo, get into the closet," I ordered. Our wardrobe was large. I pushed the hanging clothes aside and made a small hiding space in the darkest corner. "Remember my signal," I whispered, locking eyes with him. I handed him my phone. "No matter what happens, don't come out until I scream. Your only job is to record everything through the crack in the door. No sound, no crying. Do you understand?" "I understand, Mom," Leo whispered, clutching the phone tightly. I kissed his forehead and slowly closed the closet door, leaving a gap no wider than a finger. The stage was set. I stood behind the bathroom door, left slightly ajar, gripping the chili spray in my right hand and Leo's wooden toy baseball bat in my left. My heartbeat slowed, steady, heavy. Fear was gone. Only pure adrenaline remained. 11:58 p.m. I heard the front gate open. The low rumble of an SUV engine rolled into the driveway. He was here. The front door opened. Heavy footsteps in dress shoes echoed through the living room, confident, deliberate. The footsteps of a man on a mission. "Nora," he called. There was no affection in his voice, only cold intent. I tightened my grip on the bat. Cold sweat ran down my temples. The bedroom doorknob turned. Click. The door opened. Adrian appeared in the doorway. He didn't step inside immediately. He froze, eyes locked on the mound beneath the blanket. A crooked, horrifying smile slowly spread across his face. He reached into his pocket. Not a pillow, not poison, a yellow nylon rope. "Sleep well, sweetheart," he whispered as he stepped inside, closing and locking the door behind him. Time slowed to a crawl. From the narrow crack of the bathroom door, I watched the man I once loved transform into an executioner. He moved silently, his steps muffled by the thick carpet. His face showed no hesitation, only cold focus. He stretched the rope between his hands, testing it with a sharp pull. His arm muscles tensed. That wasn't a rope for packages. It was a noose. He reached the bed, staring at the shape he believed was my drugged wife. "I'm sorry, Nora, but my debts can't wait." Then he lunged. With brutal force, he slammed onto the bed, looping the rope around what he thought was my neck and yanking with everything he had. "Just die! Just die!" he snarled. His neck veins bulged, his face turned red as he poured all his strength into killing. But there was no resistance, no kicking, no choking sounds. Adrian froze. He ripped the blanket away. Empty. Only pillows, crushed, tangled, and deeply scarred by the rope. His eyes widened in shock. He stumbled back, breathing hard. Now. I kicked the bathroom door open. Bam! Adrian spun around, startled. Before his eyes could focus, I squeezed the trigger. Spray, spray, spray. The thick red mixture exploded straight into his face, eyes, nose, mouth. "Ah!" he screamed, dropping the rope, clawing at his face. "Burning! My eyes! I can't see!" He staggered backward, completely blind, crashing into the bed frame. I didn't hesitate. Adrenaline took over. I swung the wooden bat. I didn't aim for his head. I wanted him alive. I aimed for his knee. Crack! Adrian collapsed, clutching his right leg, howling in agony. He writhed on the floor, screaming between the searing pain in his eyes and the damage to his knee. I stood over him, chest heaving. Strangely, I felt no fear. I felt powerful. "Does it hurt?" I asked coldly. Adrian gasped, trying to open his swollen, burning eyes. Tears and mucus smeared across his once handsome face. "Nora, you're crazy. Please, water." I laughed bitterly. Who's crazier, a wife defending herself or a husband trying to strangle a wife for insurance money? His body stiffened. He stopped moaning. He realized. I knew everything. "Leo, come out," I ordered. The closet door opened slowly. Leo stepped out, his phone still recording, the camera pointed straight at his father's broken face. "You're evil, Dad," he said flatly. There was no fear in his eyes anymore, only the fury of a child protecting his mother. Adrian reached towards him blindly. I kicked his hand away. I picked up the yellow nylon rope. "Sit in that chair or I break your other knee." He obeyed,
shaking, pain and shock making him compliant. I tied his hands behind the back of the heavy wooden chair. A tight knot, a final knot. Now he was helpless, bound, half blind, and broken. I pulled a chair and sat directly in front of him. Then I retrieved the tablet and played the audio recording I had secretly captured earlier, his own phone call with the so-called mechanic. Adrian's own voice filled the room. Make sure the brakes fail completely. Don't let her survive. The color drained from his face, whiter than the wall behind him.
I know about Elena, I said quietly, but every word cut deep. I know she's pregnant. I know about your gambling debt. $35,000. I know everything, Adrian. Do you really think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm just a stay-at-home wife you can fool with fake smiles and forehead kisses? Nora, listen to me, Adrian whimpered. Tears mixed with chili residue streamed down his face. I messed up. I was forced. The loan sharks threatened me. They said they'd kill all of us. I did this for us. For us? I slapped him hard. Smack. Don't you dare drag us into your filth, I snapped. You tried to kill me so you could live comfortably with that homewrecker? Adrian fell silent, head hanging low. My original plan had been to hand him over to the police immediately. But that felt too easy, too merciful. Prison was still too luxurious for a betrayal this vile. I wanted him destroyed, his reputation, his career, his family, his pride, before he rotted in a cell. Suddenly, Adrian's phone buzzed in his pocket. Endless Love, his special ringtone for Elena. I pulled the phone out. The screen lit up. My future, Elena. I smiled crookedly. A dangerous idea bloomed in my mind. Adrian, I whispered, pressing the phone close to his battered face. Answer it. Speak normally. What? He looked confused. Tell her the plan worked. Tell her I'm dead. Tell her to come here now so you can celebrate together. I won't. I pressed the tip of the baseball bat against his groin. Do it, or Leo will never have a half-sibling from that woman. Ever. Adrian trembled violently and nodded. I swiped to answer and subtly signaled Leo to keep recording. Hello, love. It's me. So, is it done? Elena's sweet voice chimed through the speaker. Yeah, it's done. Nora, she's not breathing anymore. Yes! Elena screamed with joy, laughing shrilly, a laugh of victory over her own cousin's supposed death. My heart felt like it was being sliced open. That's amazing, Adrian! You're incredible! I'm coming over right now. We need to clean the place together, make it look like an accident or suicide. I can't wait to hug you. Come, the door isn't locked. Okay, love, 10 minutes. Click. The call ended. I stared at the phone, then at Adrian slumped in the chair. 10 minutes. Enough time to prepare the final stage. Leo, I said as I stood, set up the camera in the living room. We're welcoming an honored guest. I'm not reporting this to the police alone, I continued coldly. I'm dragging Elena into her own trap and broadcasting their downfall live to the entire extended family. 10 minutes passed like a bomb countdown. I dragged Adrian's chair into the center of the living room, directly beneath the crystal chandelier, bought years ago with my savings. He sat limp, face swollen and bruised, eyes nearly shut. I gagged his mouth with a kitchen cloth so he couldn't warn anyone. On the coffee table, I propped my phone up using a stack of books. The screen faced the guest sofa. The rear camera captured the entire living room. My hands trembled slightly as I opened the messaging app. I scrolled until I found the loudest, most respected group. Rossi Williams Family Group. 54 members. Uncles, aunts, cousins, and our parents. Everyone. I tapped Group Video Call. One by one, familiar faces appeared. "Hey, Nora, why are you calling the group in the middle of the day?" Aunt Linda rang out. "What's going on? Why is it so dark?" Uncle Robert asked. I leaned close to the camera, finger to my lips. "Please don't speak. Mute your microphones. Just watch. For my safety and Leo's, please watch what your beloved son-in-law and niece have done." Confusion filled the screens, but they obeyed. I flipped the phone around and hid it behind a large flower vase, making sure the camera still had a clear view. "Leo," I whispered, "hide behind the curtains." He slipped away silently like a small ninja. Right then, a car horn sounded outside. Not a sedan, a rideshare motorcycle. Elena couldn't wait. High heels clicked cheerfully across the porch. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm of death wrapped in excitement. "Hello?" she called. The front door swung open. Elena stepped inside wearing a knee-length bright red dress, heavy makeup, and shopping bags filled with expensive liquor. She was smiling broadly. That smile shattered the instant her eyes landed on the living room. Adrian, bound to a chair, bruised, broken. The bottles slipped from her hands. Crash. Glass shattered, liquid spilled across the floor. "Adrian, what happened? Who did this?" "Muggers?" she shouted, rushing towards Adrian, reaching to remove the gag. Before her hand could touch him, I stepped out from the kitchen shadows, still holding the baseball bat. "Not muggers," I said coldly. "The homeowner." Elena recoiled violently, stumbling back as if she'd seen a ghost. Her face drained of color. "Nora? Weren't you dead?" I cut her off and advanced slowly, forcing her backward until her spine hit the wall. "Disappointed?" I asked quietly. "Sorry to ruin your victory party. Turns out my life is stronger than the brake cable my husband cut." Elena glanced at me, then at Adrian, who was groaning helplessly. Shock faded from her face, replaced by her true expression. Arrogant, calculating. She straightened up, crossed her arms. "No more sweet little cousin act." "Well," she sneered, "so you found out. Too bad. No $300,000 insurance payout today. I already pre-ordered a new designer bag." "You have no heart." My voice trembled with rage. "I paid for your college. I gave you a home. And this is how you repay me? Sleeping with my husband, getting pregnant, and ordering my murder? Oh, please, spare me. You were just lucky to marry Adrian. You're boring, frumpy, smell like the kitchen. He needed a woman on his level, someone who could actually satisfy him, not you, busy with your mute kid." Adrian shook his head violently in the chair, eyes darting towards the flower vase. He knew what Elena didn't. "So you admit it," I pressed. "You're the one who told Adrian to cut my brake line?" "Yes," Elena replied smugly, chin raised. "So what? Anyone listening? No police here, just a married couple fighting with an in-law." She smirked. "Even if you report me, I'll just say you went crazy and attacked first." She thought she was winning. She had no idea she was already on camera and being watched by 54 silent witnesses.
Who would ever believe a stressed-out housewife like you? I gave a thin smile. Why don't you say hello to your extended family first? I pointed toward the coffee table. Elena Rossi frowned, confused. She followed my finger and squinted at the glowing phone screen hidden behind the flower vase. I walked closer, picked up the phone, and held it directly in front of Elena's face. On the screen, 50 video windows stared back at her, faces burning with rage. One aunt was crying hysterically. An uncle's face was red with barely contained fury. My mother-in-law, Adrian's mother back in the countryside, had collapsed and was being held upright by relatives. I turned the volume up. The room exploded with shouting. "You venomous woman! You ungrateful disgrace! Don't you dare come back here, or I swear I'll make you pay." Then a trembling voice broke through the noise. "Adrian, oh God, Adrian! Mom is ashamed, my son, ashamed to have raised a murderer." Elena's eyes widened in terror. Her mouth hung open. Her legs shook beneath her. Her arrogance collapsed in an instant. "Auntie, Uncle, this isn't—" "That's enough," I cut her off coldly. In the distance, police sirens wailed, racing through the quiet streets of Seattle. A neighbor must have called 911, or perhaps someone in the family video call acted first. "It's over," I whispered into Elena's ear. Panic surged through her. Her eyes darted toward the open front door. She tried to run. Before she could take a step, small hands grabbed her ankle. Thud! Elena crashed face first on the floor. Leo stood there, staring down at his aunt with an icy, unflinching gaze. "Don't run," Leo said firmly. 2 police officers rushed into the house, weapons drawn, followed by the neighborhood association head and residential security. "Hands up, don't move." The living room erupted into chaos. Adrian didn't resist as the ropes binding him were replaced with cold steel handcuffs. Elena screamed hysterically as officers dragged her away, thrashing, crying, blaming Adrian, blaming me, blaming the world. I stood frozen in the center of it all, holding Leo tightly. I watched my husband being taken away like a disgraced criminal. He turned back once, looking at me. His eyes were hollow, completely broken. It was finished. I won. They were ruined. But just as the last officer carried out evidence, poison bottles and a tablet filled with incriminating messages, a paramedic approached me, his expression grave. "Mrs. Nora, we need to examine you and your son. We also found something in your husband's car trunk." "What was it?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Gasoline containers and an automatic ignition timer," he said quietly. "It appears that if the poisoning and strangulation failed, he planned to burn the house down tonight with you and your child." My legs gave out instantly. Darkness swallowed my vision. The last thing I heard was Leo screaming my name before my body hit the cold floor. 2 years later, the scent of vanilla and freshly baked dough filled the air, replacing the stench of blood and terror that once haunted my life. Inside a bright, expansive industrial kitchen, employees in crisp uniforms moved efficiently. Mixers hummed, laughter echoed, and hands worked quickly preparing catering orders. "Mrs. Nora, the 500-box order for the mayor's event is ready for delivery," said Emily, my trusted assistant, handing me a clipboard. I smiled and signed it. "Thank you, Emily. Make sure the drivers are careful on the road." I glanced at my reflection in the office window. The woman staring back was no longer the exhausted, tear-swollen housewife in worn-out clothes. She wore a peach-colored blazer, elegant, composed. Her face was radiant, her eyes steady and confident. Nora's Kitchen. The catering business I built from nothing after the divorce had become one of Seattle's most sought-after names. Who would have thought the recipes I once cooked for an ungrateful husband would now generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in monthly revenue? I stepped into my cool, quiet office. On my solid mahogany desk lay a brown envelope stamped with the seal of the Washington State Department of Corrections. A routine inmate status notification. I picked it up without a slightest tremor. Fear had long been buried with the memories of that hellish house. I opened the letter and skimmed the report. Inmate 1, Adrian Whitmore. Sentence 18 years for attempted premeditated murder, insurance fraud, and embezzlement. Current condition, permanent visual disability, total blindness in the right eye due to chemical corneal damage, permanent mobility impairment from an untreated knee injury, frequently involved in inmate altercations over unpaid cigarette debts. I exhaled softly. Karma worked with elegance. The eyes that used to lust after other women were now dark forever. The legs that used to kick down my bedroom door were now crippled. Adrian, the once polished executive, was now nothing more than a broken inmate. My gaze shifted to the second name. Inmate 2, Elena Rossi. Sentence 12 years as a co-conspirator and planner. Parental rights revoked. The baby boy she delivered in prison is now in state care after Adrian's extended family refused custody, declaring the child a family disgrace. Elena reportedly suffers from severe depression and is often heard screaming her sister's name in her cell. My heart tightened slightly at the mention of the baby. The child was innocent, but innocence did not shield him from the sins of his parents. Maybe one day, when my heart truly heals, I will send anonymous support. But not now. The wound has closed, but the scar remains. Adrian's family erased him and Elena from their lives completely. His mother changed her number and moved away in shame. They came to me many times, kneeling, begging forgiveness. I only smiled and said, "I forgive you, but I can't forget." A bright, cheerful voice shattered my thoughts. My office door burst open. Leo ran in, still wearing his elementary school uniform. His backpack bounced behind him. He was no longer frail. His cheeks were full, his skin healthy. And his smile? Oh, God, that smile was my greatest treasure. "Hey, Mom's champion is home," I said, opening my arms. Leo crashed into my embrace. "Mom, I got another perfect score in language class, and my teacher chose me to lead the school ceremony next week because my voice is the loudest." I laughed, ruffling his hair. "That's amazing. My son is incredible. You used to hide your voice. Now it roars like a lion." "Of course," he said proudly. "I want to be a lawyer like Uncle Alexander, so I can defend good people." That name surfaced again. Alexander, the young attorney who took my case pro bono, moved by Leo's courage. The man who, for 2 years now, had been a patient listener, a loyal friend, and a father figure who never forced his place. And for the first time in a long while, my future felt safe.
Ding. My phone vibrated on the desk. A new message notification. Alexander Reed. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Nora. I heard today is the announcement for Leo's speech competition. If you don't mind, may I pick you both up for dinner to celebrate? I know a great place that serves amazing sauté." I smiled at the screen. Back then, messages from Adrian always filled me with anxiety, afraid of saying the wrong thing, afraid of being scolded. Now, a message from Alexander brought something different. Warmth, ease, no pressure. "Leo, Uncle Alexander is inviting us out for sauté tonight. Want to go?" I asked. Leo's eyes lit up instantly. "Yes, absolutely, Mom. The young lamb sauté, right?" I laughed softly. "All right, I'll reply." I typed back a short but sweet response. There was no fear anymore, no hesitation. I stood up and took my son's hand. Together, we walked out of the office building toward my new white SUV, bought with my own hard-earned money, a car whose brakes I regularly checked at an authorized service center, not sabotaged by Betrayal. The evening sky was painted in shades of golden orange. Beautiful. My mind drifted back to the garage 2 years ago. Back then, I thought my life was over, but it wasn't the end. It was simply the closing of a terrible chapter and the beginning of a much more beautiful book. Adrian and Elena Rossi might now be rotting behind prison bars, drowning in regret, blaming each other endlessly. Let them stay there. Because here, Leo and I stand tall. We are not victims. We are the true winners. Come on, Mom, we'll hit traffic. Leo tugged my hand impatiently. All right, I laughed. Easy, sweetheart. I stepped forward with certainty, walking toward a bright future, leaving behind the dark shadows of the past, now nothing more than dust beneath my high heels. The end.